Parshas Ki Savo Tafshin Ayin Tes. So here we are, coming toward the end of the year. This Motzei Shabbos, Ashkenazim will begin saying Slichos. So this week, really, we're going to still concentrate on Parshas Ki Savo, and next week, hopefully, we will get to speak a little bit about the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah and the days that are fast approaching. And the beginning of our Parsha discusses the mitzvah of Bikurim, this very, very special mitzvah. And the Sifri tells us something very interesting about the mitzvah of Bikurim. And listen to this fascinating Sifri. The Sifri tells us, Asei mitzvah zu, do this mitzvah of Bikurim, shebischara, and the reward for doing the mitzvah of Bikurim will be shetikanes la'aretz. Shebischara tikanes la'aretz. The reward for doing the mitzvahs Bikurim, you're going to be zoiche, you're going to get to go into Eretz Yisrael. And we quote the Medrash. The Medrash tells us about the pasuk at the beginning of the Torah, Bereishis bara Elokim. At the beginning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and the Medrash tells us, Ein Reishis Ela Bikurim. The Reishis at the beginning of the Torah, Bereishis bara Elokim, is telling us, and that's the reason, the purpose of the world. Bereishis bara Elokim. Reishis means Bikurim. Hashem created the world for the mitzvah of Bikurim. And we learn it from the pasuk that tells us about the Bikurim. The pasuk tells us, Reishis Bikurei ad masecha tavi beis Hashem alikecha. So be Reishis, for the Reishis bara Elokim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. And we also find so many different fascinating things that tell us and that show us the chashivos, the importance of the mitzvah of Bikurim, and just what a special mitzvah this mitzvah of Bikurim really is. And the commandment of Bikurim, as we know, was to bring the Bikurim with great fanfare, not just to bring it to Yerushalayim, to bring it with great simcha, with great celebration, with taka, with great fanfare, all the way to Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash. And when we would bring the Bikurim, we would read and we would reiterate our entire history, the history of Klal Yisrael up in that point from Lavan or Arami. We would start talking Arami Ovid Avi, that Lavan wanted to get rid of us, and Lavan did not want us to succeed. Lavan did not want us to be. But yet, here we are. And we became a nation. And when it comes to the mitzvah Bikurim, we talk about all these things. And we celebrate all these things. And you should note, and we should note, that when it comes to the mitzvah of Meiser, in this week's Parsha, the Torah tells us that we also say Vidui by Meiser. But the vidui that we say by Meiser is only what's negea, what is pertinent actually to the mitzvah of Meiser. We say, Bi'arti HaKodesh Min Abayis, Bi'arti HaKodesh Min Abayis talks about Meiser. But by Bikurim, we don't just talk about the Bikurim by the vidui. We talk about Bikurim and we go way back in our history. And we say everything and how we weren't supposed to succeed. And we did succeed. So why is this only by the mitzvah of Bikurim? What is so unique? What is so special about Bikurim? And there are so many other things that we have by Bikurim too. By Bikurim there is Hishtachava. We bow down. When we bring the mitzvah of Bikurim, the Torah tells us, Hishtachavisa. We bow down by the mitzvah of Bikurim. The mitzvah Bikurim is done with tremendous simcha. Why? Why this tremendous dancing and singing and Bikurim? All simcha just for the mitzvah of Bikurim. It's such a simcha, such a happy season when we do the Bikurim, and we only do it during that season when we have the harvest, and you are now harvesting your crop. That is when you bring the Bikurim. Bikurim was also brought B'Ravam, Hadras Melech, B'Ravam. Everybody together, not the one person who brought his Meiser by Trumas and Meisers, the person who had to do the mitzvah. He gave his Trumas and his Meisers. But here, there are so many other peripheral things that we do for the mitzvah of Bikurim. And the kavod and the fanfare that was given to these people who came to Yerushalayim to do this mitzvah, the people that brought the Bikurim, was also very incredible. And the Nesivos Shalom takes note of all these things that we just mentioned. And then the Nesivos Shalom wants to explain to us, what exactly is it? What is the greatness of this mitzvah's Bikurim, that all these things are done when we do the mitzvah? And he says that the greatness of this mitzvah stems from the fact that this mitzvah is actually being Mikayim. You know what? It's being Mikayim, the Tachlis Habriya. The mitzvah of Bikurim is being Mikayim, the reason why the world was created. Of course, the question begs to be asked, how so? How is the mitzvah of Bikurim being Mikayim, the Tachlis Habriya, that warranted all these special things that we do for Bikurim? Now, we've mentioned in the past the Medrash Tanchuma on Parshas B'Chukosai, and we've mentioned it a number of times that the Medrash tells us that Hashem really could have chosen Kaviyachol to take up residence, to spend all of his time and make his permanent residence somewhere up in the Olam Elyon, somewhere up in Shamayim, where the Malachim Usrafim live and dwell. And these Malachim Usrafim are always perfect. They have no Yetzer Hara, and they're always doing the Ratzon Hashem perfectly. So I would think that that is precisely, and that is perfectly where Hashem should take up his residence. And I would think that is where he would want to have his residence. And yet, as we mentioned in that Medrash, a very important thing, that Hashem didn't want that. Hashem wanted a dwelling place here on this earth, amongst us mortals, amongst people that do have flaws, amongst people who are not perfect. And it's more important, we see, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to be in a place where people take all their imperfections and take all their flaws and yet try to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim, try to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with that. That is so important to Hashem that he's ready to give up living in a perfect place in the worlds above to live amongst us with people who are attempting to be Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. And the Sefer Ma'or V'Shamesh explains beautifully the Shem, the Rebbe Melech Meluzensk, Zechus HaYogan Aleinu, a very, very beautiful thought. And he says, let's think for a second, what's going on when a person does the mitzvah of Bikurim? So you have a person, he works the entire year. He puts all his effort, his whole parnasa. He seeds the field. He plows the field. He maintains the crop. And now it finally comes the time to harvest. He goes out and he sees the first of the new fruit. All the work of the entire year right in front of his eyes. What should be the instinct of a person? The instinct should be to go ahead and take a huge bite or take this fruit and sell it. Do some business with it. Why else? You have your parnasa. Why else are you having your field? Right? So that should be the instinct of a person. And it's exactly at that moment where you're tempted to do exactly that. The moment for which you work the entire year. You know what a Yid, you know what a Jew does? A Jew says, wait a second. A Jew stops and he says, I'm going to dedicate this moment to Hashem. I'm going to dedicate it for the mitzvah of Bikurim. And you take that fruit and you think of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you appreciate HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you take that fruit, and you said, you're coming with me. I'm taking this fruit up to Yerushalayim. And that is so chaviv to Hashem. You need to remember that. That is so important to Hashem, to take what you think you did, and what you put all your work into, and dedicate that moment, that fact, that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to give Hashem what you put all your effort into. As the Pasuk says, V'lakachta mereishis kol pri adama. Now reishis means first, but reishis also means you take that, mereishis, that which is most important to you, your panasa, your effort, you take that. And Hashem, as we know, loves first things. HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Torah tells us, Peter Rechem, Bechar, Reishis HaGeiz, and so many other things that first HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, but the most chashuv one is the Bikurim. And this is actually, as we mentioned, this is actually the Tachlis Habriya. That Hashem wants a place in this world. Why? So a person will stop and take notice of Hashem and give Hashem what we want most, the fruits of our labor. We give our hearts to Hashem. We say in the Kriya Shema, Uvechol me'oidecha, the things that are me'oid, the things that are so important to us. V'yohavta es Hashem alekecha, that's talking about the Nevi'ei Bikurim, who stop and they say, when everything's in front of them, everything, you could think that you did it, you show your love for Hashem and you stop and you bring that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is why they gave the people who brought the Bikurim so much simcha, so much kavod, so much fanfare, because it's really the Tachlis Habriya. Hashem gave up everything in the Olam Elyon, and He came to live here just so we can do that. And the mitzvah, the mitzvah of Bikurim, that shows that. And this is really a lesson that we can use, and we could apply and put into use in every one of our lives. That just when you think that you did everything, you're the smart one, you're the one who has all the money, you're the one who makes all the parnasa, just when you think that, you know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from you right then? You know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs from you right then? Hashem needs you to stop at that moment and look and think for a minute that without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you would have not a little bit, you would have nothing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who gives you the strength to get up in the morning and to breathe and to be a person and to be able to do the commerce, to be able to have a parnasa, to be able to try to work, to be healthy enough to work. Every minute, every single thing comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Bereishis bara Elokim. So by the mitzvah of Bikurim, to take that lesson, that first lesson, and put it into use. And that is why we also said that Asei mitzvah zu, do this mitzvah, shebishvila tikanes la'aretz. Because of this mitzvah dafka, it is because of that mitzvah you're going to be zeicha to go into Eretz Yisrael. You know why? Because Eretz Yisrael is the only place in the world where the land itself is holy. The land itself is blessed and given to us by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to know that when we plant and we get something from the land of Eretz Yisrael, understand that that is why Hashem created the world. That is why Hashem gave us this mitzvah of Bikurim to show us, and we should stop and take stock and take notice and know that none of it is about us. It's all about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all about the Reishis. It's all about what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been so gracious and given to us. And this is a lesson that we think we're coming to the end of the year. It's time for us to realize, and it's a perfect time for us to think about that nothing that we did and nothing that we have is from our own. It is all from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we learn that from the mitzvah of Bikurim.